How are you guys doing? Today is Friday, January 1st, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I want to welcome you to an amazing new year of the Elite. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of the Elite, I'm going to go through yesterday's Elite performances from Thursday, December 31st. I'm just going to go through it, and of course, I'm going to preview what's going on today. And starting with the NBA, because there were no primetime games. There was one game on NBA TV. But of course, I'm just going to go through it just in order of how the games happened. Starting in Indiana, the Indiana Pacers hosted the Cleveland Cavaliers and were able to beat them 119-99, beating them by 20 after outscoring them by 11 in the first quarter and 14 in the third. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, this was a team that started off 3-0 and lost their last two. Out of their starters, their point guard, Darius Garland, would finish with 21 points, 2 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 8 for 14 from the field and 5 for 7 from 3. And their leading scorer was their point guard out of Alabama, Colin Sexton, who finished with 28 points and 4 assists, shooting 12 for 9 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3, and he made both of his free throw attempts. For the Indiana Pacers, off the bench, their small forward, Doug McDermott, would finish with 18 points and 9 rebounds, shooting 6 for 13 in 25 minutes. And out of their starters, their starting shooting guard, Victor Oladipo, would finish with 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists, shooting 5 for 14 from the field and 4 for 8 from the three-point line. Their point guard, Malcolm Brogdon, would finish with 17 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 5 for 13 from the field in 37 minutes. And their leading scorer was their starting power forward and their all-star power forward, Domantas Sabonis, who would finish with 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 10 for 14 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3, and making all 3 of his free throw attempts. With this win, the Indiana Pacers are currently sitting second in the East with a 4-1 record. And with this loss, the Cavaliers are now sitting 6th in the East, tied with the Nets and the Celtics with a 3-2 record on the season. Looking out to more of yesterday's games. Jump into Washington, D.C. The Wizards hosted the Chicago Bulls, and they were able to pick up their 5th loss of the season. The Chicago Bulls beat the Wizards 133-130, and the Wizards going into 2021 are still looking for their first win of the season. For the Wizards, off the bench, their point guard, Raul Neto, would finish with 15 points on the night. And he would also finish with 4 rebounds as he played 22 minutes in the game. Their starting forward out of Gonzaga, Rui Hachimura, would finish with 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists as he shot 5 for 8 from the field in 25 minutes. Their elite starting point guard, Russell Westbrook, would finish with 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 assists as he became the first player in NBA history to start his first 4 games with a triple-double, but he lost all 4 of them. He also has the longest active streaks of games lost with a triple-double with 6. He shot 8 for 18 from the field in 39 minutes. He shot 3 for 5 from 3 and 3 for 6 from the free throw line. Their starting center, Thomas Bryant, would finish with 28 points, tied for the team lead in points, as he finished with as he shot 10 for 11 from the field in 34 minutes, including 3 for 3 from 3. And also at 28 points was their elite small shooting guard, Bradley Beal, who would finish with 28 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists, shooting 8 for 19 from the field in 35 minutes, and he made 12 of his 13 free throw attempts. But the Chicago Bulls, off the bench, their power forward, Daniel Gafford, would finish with 15 points and 5 rebounds, shooting 7 for 8 from the field in 27 minutes. Their power forward, Thaddeus Young, would also finish with 15 points off the bench for the Bulls, as he finished with 6 assists as well, shooting 7 for 12 from the field in 27 minutes. Their starting center out of Duke, Wendell Carter Jr., would finish with 16 points and 5 rebounds, shooting 7 for 11 from the field in 23 minutes. Their starting point guard, Kobe White, would finish with 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 10 assists as he shot 5 for 16 from the field, 3 for 9 from 3. Their starting shooting guard, Zach LaVine, would finish with 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 6 for 17 from the field, 9 for 10 from the free throw line in 35 minutes. And their starting small forward, Otto Porter Jr., would finish with 28 points and 12 rebounds, shooting 10 for 14 from the field in 31 minutes, 5 for 9 from 3. This is a very close game, but it'll come to the very end where Bradley Beal would lose the ball on a chance to tie the game or at least take the lead on the final seconds. But with this win, the Chicago Bulls are now 2-3. Right now, they're sitting with the 11th seed in the East, tied with the New York Knicks and the Milwaukee Bucks with that record. And sitting at the very bottom of the East are the Washington Wizards following that loss. They are now 0-5. which is the worst record in the entire NBA so far. There's an 0-4 team, but there's no team that's 0-5 other than the Washington Wizards this season. Jumping to Orlando, the home of the bubble, the Philadelphia 76ers were able to come into town and give the Orlando Magic their first loss of the season after beating them 116-92. The Sixers ended up outscoring the Magic by 16 in the first and then 19 in the second. To combine for a 35-point halftime lead, which would eventually carry them, which would carry their lead to a win. For the Orlando Magic, off the bench, their rookie point guard Cole Anthony would finish with 16 points and 7 rebounds, shooting 5 for 18 from the field in 30 minutes, but he made all 5 of his free throw attempts. And the leading scorer was their starting center, Nikola Vucevic, who would finish with 19 points and 10 rebounds, shooting 8 for 15 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3 in 24 minutes. For the Philadelphia 76ers, their starting small forward, Tobias Harris, would finish with 20 points, 9 rebounds and 3 assists, shooting 8 for 15 from the field. Their elite point guard, Ben Simmons, would finish with 9 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists, shooting 3 for 7 from the field, 2 for 2 from the free throw line. Their starting shooting guard, Seth Curry, would finish with 21 points and 3 assists, shooting 7 for 12 from the field in 25 minutes, 5 for 7 from 3. And also tie with him for the team lead in scoring. Their elite center, Joel Embiid, would also tie for the game high in points. He'd have 21 points and 9 rebounds, shooting 7 for 11 from the field and 6 for 8 from the free throw line. With this win, the Philadelphia 76ers are tied with the Magic and the Pacers for the best record in the East at 4-1. And with this loss, like I said, the Orlando Magic, they lost their first game of the season, but they're still tied with the Sixers and the Pacers for the best record in the East so far this season. Jumping out to Houston, the Houston Rockets were able to get their first win of the season, beating the Sacramento Kings 122-119 after outscoring them by 2 in the fourth quarter. This was a game that would come down to the very end. And like I just said, the Rockets will get their first win of the season. For the Sacramento Kings, their starting shooting guard, Buddy Hield, would finish with 19 points and 5 assists, shooting 7 for 18 from the field and 5 for 15 from 3. Their starting power forward, Richaun Holmes, would finish with 22 points and 13 rebounds, shooting 10 for 13 from the field in 36 minutes. Their starting point guard, De'Aaron Fox, would finish with 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, and also 4 steals, shooting 9 for 23 from the field and 1 for 7 from 3. And their leading scorer was their starting small forward, Harrison Barnes, who would finish with 24 points and 8 rebounds, shooting 8 for 14 from the field in 37 minutes, and he also shot 6 for 6 from the free throw line. For the Houston Rockets, off the bench, their shooting guard, Eric Gordon, would finish with 17 points in 26 minutes, shooting 6 for 12 from the field. Their starting power forward, Christian Wood, would finish with 21 points and 12 assists. He would go down as one of 3 players in history as an undrafted player who would start their first 3 points. Start their first 3 games and score 20 points in them. So of course he's getting a good start to his career. Their elite point guard, John Wall, would finish with 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists, shooting 8 for 20 from the field and 2 for 8 from 3. And their elite shooting guard, James Harden, would lead both teams in scoring as he'd finish with 33 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists, shooting 10 for 24 from the field, 4 for 11 from 3, and 9 for 11 from the free throw line. With this win, the Houston Rockets are currently sitting 11th in the West as they are the only team with a 1-2 record. And with this loss, the Sacramento Kings are now 3-2. They are sitting 4th. They're tied for the 3rd best record in the West, tied with the Pelicans and the Lakers thus far. But this is a very big win for the Rockets as they go into 2021 at least with a win. The Toronto Raptors hosted the New York Knicks and were also able to get their first win of the season on the final day of 2020, beating the Knicks 100-83, especially after outscoring them by 17 in the second half after the Knicks were up by a bit. For the New York Knicks, off the bench, their small forward Kevin Knox II would finish with 16 points and 6 rebounds, shooting 5 for 14 from the field in 32 minutes. And also their leading scorer tied with him was their starting power forward, Julius Randle, who finished with 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 5 for 12 from the field. For the Toronto Raptors, their starting shooting guard, Nick Powell, would finish with... Their starting shooting guard, Norman Powell, he He would finish with 17 points in the game as he shot 7 for 13 from the field in 34 minutes. Their elite starting point guard, Kyle Lowry, would finish with 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 6 for 12 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3. And then their starting shooting guard, Fred VanVleet, would lead the team and the entire game for that matter with 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 9 for 19 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and making all 3 of his free throw attempts. With this win, the Toronto Raptors, who won the 2019 NBA championship, right now the Raptors are sitting 13th in the East at 1-3. They're the only team with that record. And with this loss, the New York Knicks are tied for the 10th best record in the East with the Bulls and the Bucks at 2-3. As this was a big win for the Raptors, getting their first win of the season, going into this season at least with a win. Going to Oklahoma City, the New Orleans Pelicans came into town and were able to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder by 33, beating them 113-180. In this game, the Pelicans would hold the Thunder to 7 points in the fourth quarter as they outscored them by 21 to get a very big win to help them go into the new year. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, their leading scorer was their starting center, Al Horford, who would finish with 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. He shot 7 for 9 from the field in 24 minutes. He shot 3 for 5 from 3. And for the New Orleans Pelicans, going to their starting lineup, all of their starters scored in double digits. Their elite small forward out of Duke, Zion Williamson, would finish with 12 points and 5 rebounds in 17 minutes as he shot 4 for 6 from the field, 4 for 6 from the free throw line. Their starting point guard, Lonzo Ball, would finish with 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists, shooting 7 for 15 from the field and 2 for 7 from 3. Their starting point guard, Eric Bledsoe, would finish with 17 points, shooting 7 for 11 from the field in 25 minutes. And their leading scorer was their elite small forward, Brandon Ingram, who would finish with 20 points and 7 rebounds, shooting 8 for 16 from the field and 2 for 6 from 3. With this win, the New Orleans Pelicans are currently sitting with a 3-2 record, which is tied with the Kings and the Lakers for the third best record in the West. And of course, with this loss, the OKC Thunder are sitting at the bottom of the West, tied with the Mavericks, Nuggets, and Grizzlies at 1-3 for the worst record in the West. And jumping out to Utah, Salt Lake City, the Utah Jazz hosted the Phoenix Suns, and the Suns were able to get a 11-point win over the Utah Jazz after outscoring them by 14 in the second quarter. But all the other quarters were pretty close. For the Utah Jazz, their starting point guard, Michael Conley, would finish with 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 5 for 13 from the field and 4 for 8 from 3. Their elite starting center, Rudy Gobert, would finish with 18 points and 14 rebounds, shooting 7 for 9 from the field and 4 for 8 from the free throw line. And their leading scorer was their elite shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell, who would finish with 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists, shooting 9 for 23 from the field and 3 for 8 from 3. For the Phoenix Suns, their starting small forward, Michael Bridges, would finish with 16 points and 6 rebounds, shooting 6 for 9 from the field and 4 for 6 from 3. Their starting small forward, Jamison Crowder, would finish with 16 points and 6 rebounds, shooting 6 for 11 from the field and 4 for 9 from 3. And then their starting shooting guard, Devin Booker, would lead the game in scoring as he would have 25 points, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 10 for 17 from the field and 4 for 7 from 3. With this win, the Phoenix Suns are currently sitting second. They're tied for the best record in the West with the Los Angeles Clippers currently as it stands. And with this loss, the Utah Jazz are tied for the 6th best record in the West at 2-2 with the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Golden State Warriors, and the San Antonio Spurs. So those were all the games that happened yesterday, but of course looking into today's matchups as we start the new year on Friday, January 1st. At 7 o'clock, the Charlotte Hornets are going to host the 1-3 Memphis Grizzlies. The 0-4 Detroit Pistons are going to host the 3-4 Boston Celtics. The 1-3 Dallas Mavericks are going to host the 2-2 Miami Heat. At 7:30, the 3-2 Brooklyn Nets are going to host the Atlanta Hawks for the second game of their doubleheader. At 8 o'clock, the 2-3 Milwaukee Bucks are going to host the 2-3 Chicago Bulls, and the 2-2 Minnesota Timberwolves are going to host the 0-5 Washington Wizards. And then on NBA TV at 8 o'clock, the 2-2 San Antonio Spurs are going to host the 3-2 Los Angeles Lakers. At 9 o'clock, the 1-3 Denver Nuggets are going to host the 4-1 Phoenix Suns. And at 9 o'clock, the 2-2 Utah Jazz are going to host the 4-1 Los Angeles Clippers. And the last game of the night will be on NBA TV between the 2-2 Golden State Warriors and the 2-2 Portland Trail Blazers. So that'll be a game to watch. Jumping to college basketball, just to show you what's going on in that league. On New Year's Eve, the sixth seed Wisconsin Badgers were able to beat the 21st seed Minnesota Gophers 71-59. And in this game for Wisconsin, Micah Potter led the way with 18 points and 11 rebounds. With this win, Wisconsin is now 9-2. They are 3-1 in the Big Ten. Also, 16th ranked Michigan was able to beat unranked Maryland 84-73 as Hunter Dickinson led the way for Michigan with 26 points and 11 rebounds. With this win, Michigan is 8-0. They are 3-0 in the Big Ten, and with this loss, Maryland is 6-4. They are 1-3 in the Big Ten. And then the last ranked game was out in Oregon as the 21st ranked Oregon Ducks hosted the unranked Cal Bears. And with this win, the Ducks were able to win. They were able to win 82-69 to get their second win in the Pac-12. Eugene Omoruyi would lead the way for Oregon with 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 steals. With this win, Oregon is now 7-1 on the season. They are 2-0 in the Pac-12, and with this loss, Cal is now 5-5, and they are 0-3 in the Pac-12 thus far this season. Looking into college basketball, there's no ranked games scheduled for today. But of course, those games will resume on Saturday with a big flurry of games. But of course, I'll get to you on that tomorrow. Jumping out to college football, there were a couple of ranked games last night, and there were a couple of fights. But of course, I'll take you through those when I get to it. But of course, starting with 22nd ranked San Jose State. They were beat by Ball State 34-13 pretty convincingly. Will Jones leading the way on the ground with 89 yards, and Johannes Taylor, their leading receiver, with 103 yards and a touchdown. With this win, Ball State, still unranked, they finished their season 7-1, and San Jose State picked up their first loss of the season as they finished their season 7-1 with this loss in the Offer Pad Arizona Bowl. In the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, unranked Mississippi State was able to beat 24th ranked Tulsa 28-26, and then a fight broke out after the game. That's kind of the fight was so big, it kind of distracted people from like the actual win. And then in this game for Mississippi State, their quarterback Will Rogers with over 148 yards and a touchdown. Joe Quavion Marks would be the leading rusher with 72 yards and a carry. But it was a big win for Mississippi State as they came in 3-7 and were able to get a big bowl win, of course, over a pretty good team, over a really solid team who played really well this year. But of course, this season Tulsa would finish their season 6-3, and I don't know if they're going to be ranked in the final ranking. And then last but not least, unranked West Virginia took on unranked Army in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, and West Virginia was able to win 24-21 behind Jared Doge's 159 yards and a touchdown, and they will finish their season 6-4 as Army will finish their season 9-3. Looking out to today's bowl games, at 12 o'clock on ESPN, 9th-ranked Georgia is going to face off against 8th-ranked Cincinnati in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Georgia is 7-2. Cincinnati is 9-0 and hasn't lost. At 1 o'clock, 14th-ranked Northwestern is going to host unranked Auburn on ABC on the Verbo's Citrus Bowl. That'll be a pretty big matchup. And then at 4 o'clock, it'll be the first playoff or the college football playoff semifinal game as 4th-ranked Notre Dame faces off against 1st-ranked Alabama on ESPN in the Rose Bowl that's going to be played in Texas this year. And the second semifinal game will be played at 8 o'clock in New Orleans as the 3rd-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes are going to face off against the 2nd-ranked Clemson Tigers on ESPN. So those are going to be really, really big games, and they're going to shape how the college football championship is played because, of course, the two winners will face off against one another in about a week or so, but don't take my word on that. And then last but not least, jumping out to soccer to show you what's going on in that world and that realm. Going off of yesterday, there were no crazy big games, but going into the new year, starting with the Premier League, Everton is going to host West Ham at 12:30. And then Manchester United is going to face off against Aston Villa. Looking into the Premier League, Manchester United is actually sitting second in the table. They are 3 points behind Liverpool at the top of the table with 1 game left, so they very well can catch Liverpool at the top of the table today. And then Everton is currently sitting 4th in the table as they are sitting 4 points from the top with 1 game left to play as well, and they could see themselves jump into 3rd today with a win here as well. But that's everything that's going on in soccer today. And then looking forward to today, I'm going to get back to you with another daily episode tomorrow on Saturday, January 2nd, of course, following today's NBA games, and then looking into what's going on today. And later on today, I'm going to do my first individual elite profiles of the year in 2021, where on each player's birthday, I'm going to do an individual profile on what they've done in their careers leading up to today. And for today, January 1st, Dallas Keuchel, the starting pitcher for the Chicago White Sox, turns 33. And of course, I'm going to do an elite profile on him. And the elite cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles, Darius Slade, turns 30 today. So those are going to be the two profiles that I post after this. Once again, I hope all is well. I want to thank you for listening to all 20 minutes of my piece. I hope all is well, and peace out. I will catch you tomorrow.